Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Coaching Corner. My name is Carrie Carvalho, and I'm here with Kavita Ahuja. We are both certified professional coaches, and we are bringing various topics to you every couple weeks here to the Next Group community. Thank you to Next Group for providing this platform for us. We love chatting about these things, and we hope that this sparks some interest in the listeners. And we want you to also share your thoughts, your questions. What are you struggling with? What do you need insight or advice on right now? Next Group has created a form. Please submit your thoughts so that Kavita and I can chat through what's most applicable to you. So, Kavita, we're back today.
Yes.
And the topic that we are going to have today is change and transitions.
Yes.
And I know the Next Group team helps so many people with change and transitions, and they've been providing incredible value there. And this is something that coaches, we talk to clients a lot about change and transitions as well.
Mhm.
So just to start, Kavita, what do you see in this? Like, is there a difference between a change and a transition? And if so, what is that?
Yes. Well, it's great to be here with you again, Carrie. And yeah, I agree. Like I think this forum is really important for us to share topics, but also again, please submit questions. But yeah, I really think that this topic is very important. And because often we confuse change and transition.
Mhm.
And actually it is quite different. And you might be thinking like, how is it different, right? What a transition is really a shift in our thinking about ourselves. And it's really an invitation to really look deep and really to unlock kind of the potential that's within us, right? So it's a shift internally. And it's a choice.
Mm.
Whereas change is something, it's a process where we kind of alter maybe particulars about our experience. It could be, you know, oh, maybe I'll think about changing a job because I'm not happy. So maybe that'll make things better. Or, but we leave intact our internal sense of self.
Mm.
So it kind of involves a known outcome, right? So it's whereas transition is more about transformational growth rather than trying to fix things by
Mhm.
change. I don't know if
Mhm.
that makes sense to you, but you know, I'll give you an example. When I was thinking about changing my work and my career, and I was going through menopause, and the kids were leaving all at the same time,
Mhm.
I was like, how am I going to fix it? How am I going to
Mhm.
fix these
Yeah.
things? And so I thought, well, maybe by getting a job in the same company, it will fix
Mhm.
everything.
Yeah.
However, that wasn't the case.
Mhm.
Instead, I really needed to dig deep and ask myself these really important
Mm.
questions, which is really realizing then that that was a transition period. And so there's different transition periods in our life. And so I think there was a really interesting metaphor that I learned as I was training with a coach. Her name is Linda Rossetti. And in that, if you'd like me to share that,
Yeah, I love
yeah.
it.
So
I love it.
if you think about, like, for example, let's say you're climbing a mountain, right?
Okay.
And you choose a trail. Like the trail could be a horizontal trail, which you're climbing and you see different views along the trail, but you're
Mhm.
not really ascending the mountain. So that could be likened to change, where you're doing kind of the same thing in different views, but it's not really growing. You're not really growing.
Mhm.
Whereas if you choose to climb the vertical trail, that's really kind of think likened to transitions, which is like transformational growth. So you see different perspectives.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That is that.
Totally hear you. I love that analogy. We have so many mountains over here where I live, so I'll definitely be thinking about it
Yeah.
when we go hiking again. Yeah.
Yes.
So a couple of things like when you were sharing jumped out at me that were just so, I think, on point, Kavita, is how change is similar to like fixing or like fixing a problem. And what I was thinking there, it's more like zooming in and like really like focusing
Yeah.
on stuff and the things you can move around. Whereas transitions are more the transformation. It's the higher level. It's the broader view. So I was thinking about like zooming in is more around the change and
Oh,
zooming
yeah.
is around the
Yeah.
transition.
And also maybe external versus internal, like
Mhm.
external things that we can think we can control,
Yeah.
versus internally, really digging deep and asking ourselves
Yes.
really, important questions, which really could change the trajectory of our life, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
So, yeah. So speaking of that,
One
like, I know yeah. So, sometimes, people like, you go through life and then things happen. And what are some, in your opinion or in your
Yeah.
experience, what are some of those things that would trigger a transition?
Mhm. Mhm.
That would trigger us to dig deep into what's going on?
Yeah, and, like, asking yourselves, "Wait, something's happening here." Yeah.
Yeah.
Triggers, as coaches, as we work with our clients too, right? We often
Yeah.
have that reflective device that's able to kind of maybe ask the client these questions around, like, "What's your trigger?" Like, which
Hmm.
might be something you're not normally thinking about. A couple of thoughts. I think there are triggers that are within your control, and then there's also triggers that are outside of your control.
Hmm.
So, some of the examples of a trigger that's outside of your control could be, a job loss or, a loss of a family member or a loss of a relationship, a divorce,
Hmm.
children moving out of the house. Like there's certain triggers that are outside of our control. And then there's also then the triggers that we feel more internally. Okay.
Hmm.
And they think, they touch closer within us. So here's some things that I notice in my clients. Like if you're just finding yourself stuck in a routine, you're just stuck in a routine. You might be getting bored,
Yes.
right? That could be a trigger. Another trigger is the feelings that might be coming up within
Hmm.
you.
Hmm.
You might be feeling anger. You might be feeling resentment. You might be feeling boredom again. Like you might be feeling not challenged,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Or you might be feeling like, wait, something's shifting here that's not in alignment with my values.
Right.
That is something that I'm noticing over and over and over again.
Yes.
So those are some triggers that come to my mind. Anything you want to add there?
That's absolutely right. And I think I would add to that is that when you have, oftentimes when we have these feelings that something is just not right, or that you feel like there's, as you said, resentment or a shift in values, it's so important to listen to them,
Yeah.
because they're triggering something that you need to listen to, because that means that there is some work to be done, right?
Yeah.
Or the other type of, I guess, a trigger could be something that maybe like you're anticipating something.
Mhm.
And like maybe it's, for example, you might be approaching a milestone birthday or an anniversary, and you're almost like, well, I should, how do I anticipate this, or how do I plan for this? Or so that could be something that triggers you to think, well, maybe I have to transition or change in certain ways, and things have to change, right? So,
Okay.
but yes, I think it's the internal and external triggers. There's a difference, and like you said, we can't always anticipate them, but we can choose how we react to them,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. Choice. It comes down to the
Yes,
Mhm.
yes, and that
And
comes, and
how
I think, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, how does coaching help with that? Or how did coaching help you with that in your transition?
Oh, I think that's so important, because when you're faced with these transitions, and when you're faced with like, what do I do next? Or, it could be, and especially if it's something that's not in your control, you
Mhm.
can look at it as a negative or a crisis,
Mhm.
or you can look at it as an opportunity to delve deeper into what's really going on.
Mhm.
And I think that's where a coach really comes in to really help you discover, is this, what is the opportunity in front of you? Even though you may not see it, I think that's it's kind of the perspective that you talked about.
Yeah.
And I think the second thing may be that when we're experiencing these different transition periods in our life, it's all these different emotions that come up.
Mhm.
And, it could be fear, it could be, like you said, resentment, or whatever the emotion may be. And
Mhm.
oftentimes we don't understand why these emotions are present and what we can learn from them. So I think that is a really important part of uh, dealing with a coach, is that they can help you identify the emotions and understand why they're there and what you can learn from them.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's kind of what I think a coach can help during a transition. That's
Mhm.
really some important things. What about you? Anything else?
Like plus one to all that. Agree, Kavita. I always like to say a coach can say what they see. they're like
Mhm.
this reflective person that's distant, right? And so they can offer this perspective that you don't have. And
Yeah.
so a coach is there to help you process through all these feelings and all these emotions and all that's coming up, and not
Mhm.
to just, shove them down. So a coach provides that safe, confidential space to do that. And then a coach can also like shine a flashlight on something there you might not be even seeing it.
Yeah.
So this is another analogy that I use a lot with my clients, and I think it speaks to the change versus transition as well. You think about, like, you have a house. Okay, just picture you have
Yeah.
this pretend house or a doll or something, right?
Yeah.
Making changes in your life is similar to like moving the furniture around in the same house.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll move the couch over here. Okay, now I'm going to move the couch here. Okay, I like this square table at this angle, not this angle. Like
Mhm.
these are changes. This is so oftentimes I'll say to my client, like, okay, are we just moving the furniture around in the same
Yeah.
house?
Yes.
Versus the transition, the transformation comes where you actually are creating a new house, like a new,
Mhm.
metaphor house here,
Mhm.
where you have a new relationship to this house and you're starting, with a new context.
Yeah.
And so like an example of this would be like time management comes up a lot with my clients. And so, you know, moving furniture around in the house when it respects to time management is maybe like shifting your schedule around or blocking this time or that time. And those are all things that can help. Those are changes that can make a difference. But the idea of like creating a new house would be like, well, what's your relationship to time in general? Like, do you
Yeah.
view time as scarce or abundant? How do you want time to go in this next
Yeah.
phase of life? How do you
Yeah.
want to relate to time moving forward? So
Yeah.
again, these are just things that a coach can point out and can let you just be like, oh, wait, I never thought of it like that.
Yeah. It's so interesting you brought that analogy of the house because I just
Mhm.
had a client who was saying like she's in this transition period and she said I was running and I had this vision of a house
Mhm.
that is the foundation is there.
Mhm.
But it was empty. And she says,
Mhm.
I think it's like now I can choose whatever I put in that house. The foundation is strong and healthy, and, but I can choose what to put in. And I think it's so interesting you mentioned that. It just came to mind because it's true. You have the ability and the opportunity to put whatever furniture, whatever you want in that home because you have the foundation, but it's to have somebody guiding you as an accountability partner to help you put the pieces there and
Mhm.
build that home to the best that you want it to look like or
Mhm.
how you envision it. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
that just came to
Wow.
mind. It's kind of ironic because I was just going I just had that experience with, one of my clients, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
great.
wow. Small
Yeah.
world, small world.
Yeah.
Well, this topic was meant to be then for this week, Kavita.
Exactly. Yeah.
This was wonderful chatting about it. And, for the listeners, we're curious, like, what's something going on in your life right now where you can distinguish it as a change? And what's something that's going on in life that you can distinguish as a transition? And we'd love to hear from you. You can reach out to Kavita, you can reach out to myself. We're both here to stand for you and support you and be those accountability partners. So,
Absolutely.
Kavita, it's always a pleasure. Good to chat with you again.
Great
And
to chat with
we
you.
look
I
forward
always
to
love
hearing.
learning things. I always learn some great things from you. So this
I
is
do
awesome.
too. I always learn from you. Now, what I'm taking away from this conversation, Kavita, is the mountain analogy and the change in the view.
Yes.
I want to
Yes.
acknowledge you for sharing your wisdom and just so
Oh, you
eloquently,
too.
speaking about this. And I love how you can talk about the concept, but then really bring it down to like real life and
Oh,
how.
well, right back at you.
So,
We'll
all
see you
right.
next
Well,
time.
we'll
Thanks
talk
again.
soon.
Take care.
Okay.
Take care.